Chapter 46. And Yisrael set out with all that he had, and came to Bereshith, and slaughtered slaughterings to the Elohim of his father Yitzchak. And Elohim spoke to Yisrael in the visions of the night, and said, Yaakov, Yaakov. And he said, Here I am. And he said, I am the Elohim of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Mitzrayim, for I shall make you there into a great nation. I myself am going down with you to Mitzrayim, and I myself shall certainly bring you up again. And let Yosef put his hand on your eyes. And Yaakov rose up from Bereshith, and the sons of Israel brought their father Yaakov, and their little ones, and their wives, in the wagons which Pharaoh had sent to transport him. And they took their livestock and their property which they had acquired in the land of Canaan, and came into Mitzrayim, Yaakov and all his seed with him. His sons and his sons' sons, his daughters and his sons' daughters, and all his seed he brought with him to Mitzrayim. And these were the names of the children of Israel, Yaakov and his sons, who came into Mitzrayim. Reuven was Yaakov's firstborn. And the sons of Reuven, Kanok and Palu, and Ketron and Carmi. And the sons of Shimon, Yemuel and Yamin, and Yohad, and Yakin, and Sohar. And Shaul, the son of a Canaanite woman. And the sons of Levi, Gershon, and Kahath, and Merari. And the sons of Yehuda, and Onan, and Shelah, and Peretz, and Zerach. But and Onan died in the land of Canaan. And the sons of Peretz were Ketron and Kamul. And the sons of Yisachar, Tola and Puvah, and Yob, and Shimron. And the sons of Zebulun, Sered, and Elon, and Yaklael. These were the sons of Leah, whom she bore to Yaakov in Paddan Aram, and his daughter Dinah. All the beings, his sons and his daughters, were 33. And the sons of Gad, Siphon and Haggai, Shuni and Etzbon, Eri and Aradi and Areli. And the sons of Asher, Yimnah and Yishba, and Yishbai, and Beriah, and Sirach, their sister. And the sons of Beriah, Kever and Malkiel. These were the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to Leah his daughter, and these she bore to Yaakov, 16 beings. The sons of Rachel, Yaakov's wife, Yosef and Benjamin. As Yosef in the land of Mitzrayim were born Manasseh and Ephraim, whom Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, bore to him. And the sons of Benjamin, Bela and Becher and Ashbel, Gera and Naaman, Eki and Rosh, Mupim and Kupim, and Ard. These were the sons of Rachel who were born to Yaakov, 14 beings in all. And the son of Dan, Cushim. And the sons of Naphtali, Yatzael, and Guni, and Yetzer, and Shilem. These were the sons of Bilhah, whom Laban gave to Rachel his daughter, and she bore these to Yaakov, 7 beings in all. And all the beings who went with Yaakov to Mitzrayim, who came from his body, besides Yaakov's sons his wives, were 66 beings in all. And the sons of Yosef, who were born to him in Mitzrayim, were 2 beings. All the beings of the house of Yaakov, who went to Mitzrayim, were 70. And he sent Yehuda before him to Yosef, to point out before him the way to Goshen. And they came to the land of Goshen. And Yosef made ready his chariot, and went up to Goshen to meet his father Israel. And he appeared to him, and fell on his neck, and wept on his neck a long time. And Israel said to Yosef, Now let me die, since I have seen your face, that you are still alive. And Yosef said to his brothers and to his father's household, I am going up to inform Pharaoh, and say to him, My brothers and those of my father's house, who are in the land of Canaan, have come to me. And the men are shepherds, that they have been men of livestock, and they have bought their flocks and their herds, and all they have. And it shall be, when Pharaoh calls you and says, What is your occupation? That you shall say, Your servants have been men of livestock from our youth, even till now, both we and also our fathers, so that you dwell in the land of Goshen, for every shepherd is an abomination to the Mitzrites. Chapter 47. Then Yosef went and spoke to Pharaoh, and said, My father and my brothers, their flocks and their herds, and all that they possess, have come from the land of Canaan, and see, they are in the land of Goshen. And he took 5 men from among his brothers, and presented them to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to his brothers, What is your occupation? And they said to Pharaoh, Your servants are shepherds, both we and also our fathers. And they said to Pharaoh, We have come to dwell in the land, because there is no pasture for your servants' flocks, for the scarcity of food is severe in the land of Canaan. And now, please let your servants dwell in the land of Goshen. And Pharaoh spoke to Yosef, saying, Your father and your brothers have come to you. The land of Mitzrayim is before you. Settle your father and your brothers in the best of the land, let them dwell in the land of Goshen. And if you know of capable men among them, then make them chief herdsmen over my livestock. And Yosef brought in his father Yaakov, and set him before Pharaoh. And Yaakov blessed Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Yaakov, How old are you? And Yaakov said to Pharaoh, The days of the years of my sojournings are 130 years. Few and evil have been the days of the years of my life, and they have not reached the days of the years of the life of my fathers in the days of their sojournings. And Yaakov blessed Pharaoh, and went out from before Pharaoh. So Yosef settled his father and his brothers, and gave them a possession in the land of Mitzrayim, and the best of the land in the land of Ramses, as Pharaoh had commanded. Yosef provided his father and his brothers, and all his father's household, with bread for the mouth of the little ones. Now there was no bread in all the land, because the scarcity of food was very severe, and the land of Mitzrayim and all the land of Canaan became exhausted from the scarcity of food. Yosef gathered up all the silver that was found in the land of Mitzrayim and in the land of Canaan for the grain which they bought. Yosef brought the silver into Pharaoh's house. And when the silver was all spent in the land of Mitzrayim and in the land of Canaan, all the Mitzrites came to Yosef and said, Give us bread, for why should we die in your presence? For the silver is gone. Yosef said, Give your livestock, and I shall give you bread for your livestock, if the silver is gone. So they brought their livestock to Yosef, and Yosef gave them bread in exchange for the horses, and for the flocks they owned, and for the herds they owned, and for the donkeys. Thus he fed them with bread in exchange for all their livestock that year. And when that year had ended, they came to him the next year, and said to him, We do not hide from my master that our silver is all spent, and my master also has livestock we owned. There has not been left any before my master, but our bodies and our lands. Why should we die before your eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and let us and our land be servants to Pharaoh. And give us seed, and let us live and not die, and let the land not lie waste. And Yosef bought the entire land of Mitzrayim for Pharaoh, because every man of the Mitzrites sold his field, because the scarcity of food was severe upon them. And the land came to be Pharaoh's. And as for the people, he moved them into the cities, from one end of the borders of Mitzrayim to the other end. Only the ground of the priests he did not buy, for the priests had from what Pharaoh gave them by law, and they ate that which Pharaoh gave them by law. Therefore they did not sell their ground. And Joseph said to the people, Look, I have bought you and your land today for Pharaoh. Look, here is seed for you, and you shall sow the land. And it shall be that in the harvest you shall give 1/5 to Pharaoh, and 4/5 is your own, as seed for the field and for your food, for those of your households, and as for food for your little ones. And they said, You have saved our lives. Let us find favor in the eyes of my master, and we shall become Pharaoh's servants. Yosef made it a law over the land of Mitzrayim to this day, that Pharaoh should have 1/5, except for the ground of the priests only, which did not become Pharaoh's. And Israel dwelt in the land of Mitzrayim, and in the land of Goshen, and they had possessions there, and were fruitful, and increased exceedingly. And Yaakov lived in the land of Mitzrayim 70 years, so the length of Yaakov's life was 147 years. And the time for Israel to die drew near, and he called his son Yosef, and said to him, Now, if I have found favor in your eyes, please put your hand under my thigh, and show loving commitment and truth to me. Please do not bury me in Mitzrayim. But I shall lie with my fathers, and you shall take me up out of Mitzrayim, and bury me in their burial place. And he said, I do as you have said. And he said, Swear to me. And he swore to him. And Israel bowed himself on the head of the bed. Chapter 48. And after these events it came to be that it was said to Yosef, See, your father is sick. And he took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And Yaakov was told, See, your son Yosef is coming to you. And Israel strengthened himself and sat up on the bed. And Yaakov said to Yosef, El Shaddai appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said to me, See, I am making you fruitful, and shall increase you, and shall make you an assembly of peoples, and give this land to your seed after you as an everlasting possession. And now, your 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, who were born to you in the land of Mitzrayim before I came to you in Mitzrayim, are mine. As Reuben and Shimon, they are mine. Your offspring whom you shall bring forth after them are yours, and let them be called by the name of their brothers in their inheritance. And I, when I came from Padan, Rachel died beside me in the land of Canaan on the way, when there was but a little distance to go to Ephrath. And I buried her there on the way to Ephrath, that is, Bethlehem. And Israel saw Joseph's sons, and said, Who are these? And Joseph said to his father, They are my sons, whom Elohim has given me in this place. And he said, Please bring them to me, and let me bless them. And the eyes of Israel were dim with age, and he was unable to see. And he drew them near, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said to Joseph, I had not thought to see your face, but see, Elohim has also shown me your seed. So Joseph brought them from between his knees, and he bowed down with his face to the earth. Joseph took them both, Ephraim with his right hand toward Israel's left hand, and Manasseh from his left hand towards Israel's right hand, and brought them near. And Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it on Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh's head, consciously directing his hands. For Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph and said, The Elohim before whom my fathers Abraham and Yitzchak walked, the Elohim who has fed me all my lifelong to this day, the messenger who has redeemed me from all evil, bless the youths. And let my name be called upon them, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Yitzchak. And let them increase to a multitude in the midst of the earth. And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand on the head of Ephraim, it was evil in his eyes. And he took hold of his father's hand to remove it from the head of Ephraim to the head of Manasseh. Joseph said to his father, Not so, my father, for this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head. But his father refused, and said, I know, my son, I know. He also becomes a people, and he is also great. And yet his younger brother is greater than he, and his seed is become the completeness of the nations. And he blessed them on that day, saying, And you, Israel, shall bless, saying, Elohim make you as Ephraim and as Manasseh. Thus he put Ephraim before Manasseh. And Israel said to Joseph, See, I am dying, but Elohim shall be with you, and bring you back to the land of your fathers. And I have given to you one portion above your brothers, which I took from the hand of the Amorite with my sword and with my bow. Chapter 49. And Yaakov called his sons, and said, Gather together, so that I declare to you what is to befall you in the last days. Gather together and hear, you sons of Yaakov, and listen to Israel your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my power and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of exaltation and the excellency of power. Boiling like water you do not excel, because you went up to your father's bed, then you defiled it. You went up to my couch. Shimon and Levi are brothers, their weapons are implements of violence. Let my being not enter their council, let my esteem not be united to their assembly, because they killed a man in their displeasure, and they lamed an ox in pleasure. Cursed be their displeasure, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I divide them in Yaakov, and scattered them in Israel. You, Yehuda, your brothers praise you. Your hand is on the neck of your enemies. Your father's children bow down before you. Yehuda is a lion's cub. From the prey you have gone up, my son. He bowed down, he crouched like a lion, and like a lion, who does rouse him? The scepter shall not turn aside from Yehuda, nor an inscriber from between his feet, until Shiloh comes. And to him is the obedience of peoples. Binding his donkey to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine, he washed his garments in wine, and his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, and his teeth whiter than milk. Zebulun dwells at the seashore. He is for a haven for ships, and his border is unto Sidon. Issachar is a strong donkey lying down between two burdens. And he saw that a resting place was good, and that the land was pleasant, and he inclined his shoulder to bear a burden, and became a subject to slave labor. Dan rightly rules his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan is a serpent in the way, an adder by the path, that bites the horse's heels so that its rider falls backward. I have waited for your deliverance, O Yahuwah. Gad, a raiding band, raids him, but he raids its heel. Bread from Asher is rich, and he gives delicacies of a sovereign. Naphtali is a deer let loose, he gives words of elegance. Yosef is an offshoot of a fruit-bearing tree, by a fountain, his branches run over a wall. And the archers have bitterly grieved him, shot at him and hated him. But his bow remained in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty one of Yaakov. From there is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. From the El of your father who helps you, and by the Almighty who blesses you with blessings, from the heavens from above, blessings of the deep that lies beneath, blessings of the breast and of the womb, and blessings of your father have excelled the blessings of my ancestors, up to the limit of the everlasting hills. They are on the head of Yosef, and on the crown of the head of him who was separated from his brothers. Benjamin is a wolf that tears. In the morning he eats prey, and at night he divides the spoil. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is what their father spoke to them. And he blessed them. He blessed each one according to his own blessing. And he commanded them and said to them, I am to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite. In the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre in the land of Canaan, which Abraham brought in the field of Ephron the Hittite as a possession for a burial site. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Yitzchak and Rivkah his wife, and there I buried Leah. The field was purchased, and the cave which is in it, from the sons of Keth. And when Yaakov ended commanding his sons, he drew his feet up into the bed and breathed his last, and was gathered to his people. Chapter 50. And Yosef fell on his father's face, and wept over him, and kissed him. And Yosef commanded his servants and the physicians to embalm his father, so the physicians embalmed Israel. And 40 days were completed for him, for so are completed the days of embalming. And the Mitzrites wept for him 70 days. And when the days of weeping for him were past, Yosef spoke to the household of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found favor in your eyes, please speak in the hearing of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, See, I am dying. Bury me in my burial site, which I dug for myself in the land of Canaan. And now, please let me go up and bury my father, and return. And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury your father, as he made you swear. And Yosef went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Mitzrayim, and all the house of Yosef, and his brothers and his father's house. Only their little ones, and their flocks, and their herds they left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan, and they lamented there with a great and very heavy lamentation. And he performed 7 days of mourning for his father. And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning at the threshing floor of Atad, they said, This is a grievous mourning for the Mitzrites. That is why its name was called Abel Mitzrayim, which is beyond the Jordan. And his sons did to him as he had commanded them. For his sons brought him to the land of Canaan, and buried him in the cave of the fields of Machpelah, before Mamre, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite as property for a burial site. And after he had buried his father, Yosef returned to Mitzrayim, he and his brothers, and all who went up with him to bury his father. When Yosef's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, What if Yosef hates us, and pays us back all the evil which we did to him? And they sent word to Yosef, saying, Before your father died, he commanded, saying, This is what you are to say to Yosef, I beg you, please forgive the transgression of your brothers and their sin, for they did evil to you. And now, please forgive the transgression of the servants of the Elohim of your father. And Yosef wept when they spoke to him. And his brothers also went and fell down before his face, and they said, See, we are your servants. And Yosef said to them, Do not fear, for I am in peace. For am I in the place of Elohim? And you intended evil against me, but Elohim intended it for good, in order to do it as it is this day, to keep a great many people alive. And now, do not fear, I provide for you and your little ones. So he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. And Yosef dwelt in Mitzrayim, he and his father's household, and Yosef lived 110 years. And Yosef saw Ephraim's children to the 3rd generation. The children of Machir, son of Manasseh, were also born on Yosef's knees. And Yosef said to his brothers, I am dying, but Elohim shall certainly visit you and bring you out of this land, to the land of which he swore to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov. And Yosef made the children of Israel swear, saying, Elohim shall certainly visit you, and you shall bring up my bones from here. And Yosef died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and they placed him in a coffin in Mitzrayim.